international arrivals and trialling use of home quarantine for vaccinated travellers. There's no time frame for the measures. Instead, each phase would be dependent on reaching certain vaccination milestones. New South Wales residents are being urged to stay at home as the Greater Sydney lockdown approaches the end of week one. The state recorded 31 new cases today, with more than a third of those in the community while infectious. Health officials are warning daily numbers are likely to be even higher in coming days. The 4-day lockdown for residents in WA's Perth and Peel regions will end at midnight. Stay-at-home orders have also lifted for residents in parts of Queensland, including the Sunshine Coast, where a new case has been found. The Brisbane and Moreton Bay areas have seen their restrictions extended for another 24 hours. And small business owners who've been denied payouts for losses during the pandemic are taking their insurers to court. 2 class action lawsuits are being filed against QBE and global insurance company Lloyd's. If they're successful, the industry could face claims from 250,000 companies. Let's get more now on the pandemic roadmap agreed by National Cabinet. Political reporter Jane Norman joins me from Parliament House in Canberra. Jane, state and federal leaders have made it clear that vaccinations are the key to ending lockdowns and restrictions.
Yeah, that's right, Karina. After a pretty messy week for the rollout, largely caused by Scott Morrison's own comments, we saw today the strongest pitch yet from the PM for everyone to get a COVID-19 vaccine. But supply really remains the biggest issue. So far, only about 8% of the population has been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. So we have a pretty long way to go to reach the government's own goal of offering everybody a jab by Christmas. What we got today was a big picture roadmap. The next step is to fill in the details, the level of vaccinations that will be required to move from one phase to the next. And that is not a simple task because it requires the nation's leaders to decide what level of risk they're willing to take or accept as the country reopens. And that's not just a health decision, it's a political one too. And so what we're hearing from the Prime Minister is that once the whole population has been vaccinated, he wants Australia to treat COVID-19 like any other infectious disease and, crucially, Karina, respond to it accordingly.
And Jane, now that there is a plan, what can Australians expect for the rest of this year?
Well, over the next 6 months, the vaccine program is scheduled to massively ramp up. We're expecting tens of millions of doses of Pfizer and Moderna to arrive. While that happens, though, really the status quo is likely to remain. That means restrictions, lockdowns are likely to continue to be a feature of our lives until the majority of the population is vaccinated. And of course, while the vaccine program is the key here, as we've seen throughout the pandemic, the states and territories make their own decisions. They move at their own pace. So while we have a 4-point plan now, I wouldn't necessarily expect, Karina, for all of the states and territories to move in a uniform fashion.
Jane Norman reporting from Canberra. The country's chief vet is warning of the increased risk of a major animal disease outbreak in Australia in the next 5 years. That's prompted questions about how contact tracing might apply across Australian farms, sale yards and meatworks. Rural reporter Kath Sullivan has the story.
It's not just COVID-19 that risks bringing the country to a standstill. Australian farmers fear a major animal disease outbreak, like foot and mouth disease or African swine fever, could halt the $17 billion livestock industry.
There would be immediately a national livestock standstill for 24, 48 hours, 7 days.
A review of Australia's meat industries has recommended all livestock be fitted with electronic ID by 2025, so infected animals can be traced quickly in the event of an outbreak.
We're open to considering it. We need a national body to administer it. We need a database that can handle it all.
Individual electronic ID is already used in cattle nationwide, but Victoria is the only state where it's mandatory for sheep.
How can biosecurity just be locked into Victoria when sheep and lambs can travel over state borders and do every day?
The industry is divided about the need for change.
Australian farming's made up of the young, the old and the should have retired. And it depends where you're sitting on that graph as to just how you've taken up technology.
Australia's chief vet says there's a 42% chance that we'll have a major disease outbreak in Australia in the next 5 years, posing a huge challenge for both industry and regulators. Vet Sarah Britton chairs a national working group currently considering options to mandate electronic tags along with a national traceability system.
If there is a good side to COVID, is it has taught people to understand what quarantine means, how important contact tracing is, how important like that QR code. All those things are applicable in the animal space.
Lessons that Australian farmers hope won't need to be tested. Kath Sullivan, ABC News, Canberra.
Fire has torn through the main street of Bowral in the New South Wales Southern Highlands. It took more than 30 firefighters 4 hours to extinguish the blaze last night. At least 6 businesses were damaged by the flames and smoke, including the town's historic bookshop. It's believed the blaze began in a Mexican restaurant.
Luckily enough, we've got a lot of crews on site and we've been able to cut that off and save a significant proportion of the shops in the main street.
No one was hurt. Princes William and Harry have unveiled a statue of their mother, Diana, Princess of Wales, at Kensington Palace. It's the first time the brothers have been seen together since the funeral of their grandfather in April. Europe correspondent Samantha Hawley reports.
For a moment, they put their differences to one side. Prince William and Harry, the only royals present, seemed at ease as they chatted with Princess Diana's siblings, before moving together to unveil a tribute to their mother, 4.5 years in the making. Princess Diana is depicted with 3 children, designed to show her warmth, elegance and energy. There were no speeches, but a rare joint statement from the princes. Every day we wish she was still with us, they say. We remember her love, strength and character.
It's fantastic. It represents her life with working with young children.
Absolutely breathtaking. Quite emotional, I would say.
Focus on the statue was equalled by that on Diana's sons, once so close.
I think the whole thing's just got so sad, and I don't know, I see pain in both of their faces.
Perhaps, in the evening when, the grounds are shut, they could easily come here for a moment of quiet reflection, and I hope that would give them some sort of comfort or solace.
In North London, royal fanatic Margaret Tyler is hoping for the same.
Oh, hello!
She even has a Princess Diana room.
I hope they can make up their differences. She wouldn't have wanted to see what she's seeing now between the boys.
There's a whole generation of Brits who have no memory of Princess Diana or the sensation she caused. But regardless, she's still an iconic figure here and around the world, and is remembered as a compassionate woman who helped modernise the royal family that's still at the heart of the British culture.
And now a statue stands tall in memory of the people's princess. Samantha Hawley, ABC News, Kensington Palace.
It's been a golden Thursday for Australia at Wimbledon, with 5 players moving through to the 3rd round.